Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Leon Edwards to defeat Claudio Silva. And I'm here to talk about CJ Charles Johnson versus Rafael Ramos Estevam. Estevam is 11-0 as a pro, 27 years old, and he's given up 1 inch of height and 1 inch of reach to 32-year-old Johnson, who is 13-5. Charles Johnson, this guy is tough as all fuck. I'd say that's his defining trait. He is 13-5, like I said, but all 5 losses are by decision. He's lost recently to O'Day Osborne, Cody Durden, Muhammad Makayev in the UFC, and before that he lost to Sean Santella and Brandon Royval, who is fighting for the world title soon enough. And Brandon Royval really had him hurt badly, was easily the closest to putting away Charles Johnson, but Charles Johnson survived in that fight against one of the most dangerous fighters alive, Brandon Royval, and was able to make that a closer fight in the end. Actually gave a pretty damn good fight. So that's the fight that has me sure that Charles Johnson is not going to be finished, even against a guy like Estevam, who is a pretty dangerous guy and one of those young newcomers who could be exuberant, looking for the finish, a little overzealous. Exuberant, I don't even know what that means. But Charles Johnson, I still trust in any circumstance, really, to make it to the final bell. I think his primary weakness and the path to defeat, so to speak, is wrestling. That's his biggest weakness. You need to control this guy. He's a long, tall guy, nice big frame where it's easy to get in on his hips. And if you can do that and you're a good enough wrestler, you have enough takedown prowess and pressure, you can control him enough to win the fight. But on the feet, it's not to say he can't be beaten on the feet. He can be. But Charles Johnson is a very good striker. He's a very good striker. He's obviously one of the longer, rangier guys. And even in this matchup here, he's an inch taller and has an extra inch of reach. He's got a great work rate. He's been 5 rounds before. Actually finished Carlos Mota in round 5, early in round 5. He beat Jimmy Flick in round 2, as we saw, but that's Jimmy Flick, so maybe that's not so impressive. Been 5 rounds against Yuma Horiuchi in the LFA, and of course went 15 hard minutes against Zhalgas Zhumagulov in a horrible decision. I think Charles Johnson can hang for 15, 25 minutes against any fighter in the world, and I think he can make it very close unless they're an overwhelmingly dominant wrestling force. That's my breakdown on Charles Johnson. And he's nifty on the ground, submission-wise. He's not a fish out of water at all. He's only got 3 subs, but they're impressive enough. Rafael Ramos Estevam, he's 11-0, perfect record. He's got 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, and 4 decisions. Very well-rounded guy. He's hasn't beaten the best competition, but his last 4 or so wins were pretty damn good. He beat Joao Elias on the Contender Series, I believe that was. He TKO'd him. That was ground and pound and power over subs. And Joao Elias was threatening him, and then he just took away all the threats and pounded him out. Got a very impressive victory. Before that, he beat Felipe Estevez in the LFA. That was another round 2 TKO. He beat a very good fighter in Eric Visconde by decision, as well as Luan Matthews, who's, or Mateus. That guy's so-so, but he's definitely tough. And that's pretty much it for his resume. The rest of the guys suck. But he is a finisher. He's got 7 finishes, and of the 7 finishes, 5 of them come in round 2, which show that this guy is not just some first-round monster. He's a guy that can beat you down the stretch, take some of the life out of you, and then thrive as you get tired. That's how he beat his last 2 guys, Joao Elias and Felipe Estevez, 2 of the more high-profile victories of his, and it's him outlasting them. So he's shown a lot of great traits as a fighter, Rafael Ramos Estevam, and he is favored to win here, but I'm picking against him. I think despite him showing a good wrestling and grappling game, the guy is very good. I don't think he's I don't think he's Cody Durden or Muhammad Makayev. I don't think he's that type of relentless wrestler. I think he's more of a well-rounded guy who wants to fight a well-rounded fight, and he's going to show all of his skills. I think if he gets on top, he's going to try to finish Charles Johnson, and at some point, he's going to sacrifice position. And I think Charles Johnson is a better wrestler, first of all, than he's going to get credit for at this level, at this point, I should say, because he's been out-wrestled thoroughly in his most high-profile fights. But he's not a bad wrestler at all. The guy can wrestle and grapple. And on the feet, I do expect him to have an advantage here in this fight over Estevam. Charles Johnson's a good striker. He does have reach and height. But I think just on a technical level, he's going to be the slicker striker than Estevam. And certainly down the stretch. Once these guys get going, I don't envision them being in round 3 and Charles Johnson not winning the striking battle. I think he's just a much more comfortable seasoned fighter and striker. So I think it'll be close. I do think Estevam's going to get Charles Johnson down just because everybody who wants to can get in on his hips. But I think Charles Johnson is going to make this a much closer fight than it was against these dominant wrestlers like Cody Durden and Muhammad Makayev and O'Day Osborne. And, that one showed you don't need to be the most purely dominant wrestler to out-wrestle him. But still, I think O'Day is an underrated guy with a lot of talent in every area. Charles Johnson, I'm picking him to make this a close battle and then take over down the stretch. Charles Johnson by decision is the pick. I bet on him at plus 110. That's his money line. And I think if he does lose, of course, it is by decision. If he does win, it could go either way, especially not knowing how Estevam has lost. But I'm siding with decision for Charles Johnson because I think it's going to come down to him outworking Estevam down the stretch. So I'm picking it to be close, but Charles Johnson does score more points. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.